table painted green, sat on a chair with a broken back, wearing a pretty potato sack. I had a rug upon the floor and roses grew around my door. I had a job, my wants were few, they were until I wanted you. And when I set my eyes on you, nothing else would do, nothing else would do. I knew a man once very long ago. They say that he was born in Buffalo, but I don't believe it. Buffalo was never sufficiently gilded and proud, and this man turned out to be the playboy of the Western world. Oh, he was elegant, past all dreaming. He made seeming seem like the real McCoy. All the sheiks of Araby, all the shahs of Persia couldn't hold a candle to this boy. When he walked through a room, it looked as handsome as Napoleon's tomb, and the Ford he rode could have been Mercedes-Benz a la mode. When he took me out, I didn't doubt that we were going to the Astor or the Sherry Netherland. Spring seemed to linger in the little bunch of flowers he pressed into my hand. Little bunch of flowers didn't cost a dime, picked them in the park in their prime. He went around with his heart unfurled, the one and only playboy of the Western world. You could fall in love with everyone you'd meet when you walked with him down the street. Playboys die young, this one did too. All worn out, making dreams come true. And the world was grim again without him, again without him. For he was elegant, past all dreaming. He made seeming seem like the real McCoy. All the sheiks of Araby, all the shahs of Persia couldn't hold a candle to this boy. When they took him out, I didn't doubt that he was going to Miami or some other wonderland. Spring seemed to linger in a little bunch of flowers I pressed into his hand. Little bunch of flowers didn't cost a dime, picked them in the park in their prime. He went around with his heart unfurled, the one and only playboy of the Western world. He was the playboy of the Western world, the playboy of the Western world. Something's going wrong with my guitar. All of a sudden it's bubbling. It goes like this. It's a whole story. In one verse and one chorus. Once there was a trumpeter, blew his love a ballad that was not enough for her, so he blew her a lobster salad. Blow a little louder, love, show me that you're thinking of your honey. Blow a little louder, love, show me that you love me. That's the only words I could think. We go walking in the dark. We go walking out at night. And it's not as lovers go two by two, to and fro, but it's one by one by one. We go walking out at night, as we wander through the grass, we can hear each other pass, but we're far apart, far apart in the dark. We go walking out at night, with the grass so dark and tall. We are lost, a stray call, if the moon is gone, and the moon is gone. We are walking in the dark. If I had your hand in mine, I could shine like the morning sun, like the sun. When my man goes to sea, he steps so high and free. I think I know as I watch him go that he has no need for me. And when my man comes home and waits a while to roam, I think I see when he smiles at me that he's dreaming of the phone. I'm not a pious Christian, and I do not go to Mass, but I pray to Father Neptune to let him safely pass. I sing to the God with the three-pronged rod and the whiskers wild and free, that I've got a man with a beard and a tan and a passion for the sea. He rides through the storm and the cold and the warm, and he loves to risk his neck. And I like to know when he goes below that it's just below the deck. Oh, Neptune, Father Neptune, I tell you fair and true, that if you should lose my sailor, I'll sing no more to you. When he's home from sea, he is half with me, and he's gone when I close the door. And it's still his creed that he has no need of a wife except on shore. I know it's a boat that keeps him afloat, but I like to think it's me. And if it were not for this, I would sing to the depths of the sea. There once was a girl in the olden days, grew weary of men with a roving gaze. Farewell, fickle lovers, goodbye, goodbye, for I'm falling in love with the man in the sky. The man in the sky, he walks in haste with 3 bright buckles around his waist, and a great dog near and a little dog nigh, and a steady gleam in his golden eye. The girl went out on a windy hill and cried when the night was dark and still, come down, you man in the sky, or else I am likely to pine and die. The man in the sky didn't stop to talk, he went right on with his evening walk, and the great dog howled and the little dog whined, and the girl grew cold in the rising wind. She took to her bed from the light of the sun, but when the sun his course had run, she went to her window so high, and waited and watched Orion go by. The man in the sky, he walked in haste with 3 bright buckles around his waist, and a great dog near and a little dog nigh, and a gleam for her in his golden eye. One night she stood on her windowsill and stepped right out on the highest hill, and climbed to the place where the planets are, and jumped from there to the nearest star. She rocked in Cassiopeia's chair, and waked the dragon and roused the bear, and the great dog howled and the little dog whined, and the girl grew cold in the rising wind. She found Orion at last, and then she found he was just like other men, when on his shoulder her head she'd lay, his eye was 1,000,000 miles away. The great dog howled and the little dog whined, and the girl grew cold in the rising wind, and the dragon snarled and the lion roared, and the stars flew by in a golden horde. This tale has a moral brief to tell, and I won't go on, for you know it well. Remember the girl in the days gone by, who fell in love with the man in the sky. She rocked in Cassiopeia's chair, and waked the dragon and roused the bear, and where they buried her I forget, but the man in the sky isn't married yet. Shall we dine out, my dear, and dance the night away? Don't say you're tired, you know you haven't worked all day. We pay the rent finally, and we're free to be free. Come now and waltz the empty pocket waltz with me. Let's close our door and make believe we're all alone. Grandma can't hear and baby's sleeping like a stone. We've paid the doctor his fee, and we're free to be free. Come now and waltz the empty shall be free to waltz again this empty pocket waltz with me. He was right, but I'm too proud to go and tell him so myself. So honeybee, go and tell a starling to go and tell my darling to hurry home to me. There is a vine growing on my garden wall, and it is brown and withered in the fall, and in the spring its leaves are green and blossoms all aflame. But spring or fall, still I love you just the same. There is a gate halfway down my garden wall, and in the night
I think we're going to go ahead and get started if people want to find a seat and get comfortable. Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for being here tonight. My name is Laura Henriksen. I'm the Director of Learning and Community Engagement here at the Poetry Project, and I'm so deeply excited to hear tonight from Chan and CA Conrad. Woo! James. Thank you. Thanks, James. Okay, perfect, wonderful. So we'll hear first tonight from Chan, and then we'll go straight through without a break and hear from CA Conrad, introduced by my wonderful colleague, Will Ferris. But before we get to that portion of the evening, I'd like to spend a little bit of time reflecting with you all about this room. And also for everyone who's joining us on the live stream and so are not with us in this room, I invite you to remember that yes, you are. Your presence is still felt, and we are still here together. In this room, the Poetry Project has presented events for more than 55 years. That means that here, in this room, hundreds upon hundreds of hours of attention has been paid. And as Simone Weil teaches us, attention is a kind of prayer. A prayer for what, we might ask. It means that in this room, friendships have formed, community has grown, work has been presented that is both vulnerable and incendiary. Worlds have been made, and unmade too. In this same room, voices have been silenced, stories have been erased, participants have been excluded. Part of our being together in this room tonight means that we agree to resist that history of erasure and exclusion, to ask different questions about the story of how we got here and where we'll go now. This room is inside St. Mark's Church, which is built on the site where Peter Stuyvesant constructed his family chapel in 1660. Stuyvesant was once described to me as the original law and order mayor of New York, overseeing continual colonization and enslavement as he increased the population of enslaved Africans in the colony, enslaving 40 people himself alone. Part of our being in this room tonight means we agree to remember this story and to ask ourselves in what ways we are accountable to it and how that accountability might look. This room is in the East Village of New York City, a neighborhood marked by gentrification and displacement and by community organizing and joyful subversion, too. We remember and retell both stories. In this neighborhood, the first penitentiary in New York City was built in 1816, and as Tongo Eisen Martin teaches us, if it has a prison, it is a prison, not a city. So we move towards the acknowledgement that this is not our city, but an entanglement of forces that we must work ceaselessly to see more clearly so that we can act more surely towards its abolition. This is a room on stolen land. We are gathered right now in this shared moment on the unceded homeland of the Lenape people, Lenape-Ho-King. There is only one thing we can do on and with stolen land, and that is to return it, remembering that to return the land is not a matter of transferring capitalist ownership, but, as many indigenous thinkers have taught us, a radical rethinking of ownership and belonging, centering indigenous autonomy and active relationality and responsibility. To reiterate Gloria Anzaldua's assertion, this land was Lenape-Ho-King always, and is, and will be again. So we must hold a lot as we gather in this room that holds us. And I ask us all now to take a moment to arrive into this space together so that we may gather in a way that is guided by our care and our accountability for each other and for our many histories and for everything yet to come. Let's please take a moment. Thank you so much. I have just a few final reminders and updates before we move forward with tonight's readings. I ask you please to keep your masks on whenever you're inside. There are 2 all-gender restrooms located upstairs and another here on the first floor through the sanctuary. Just let me or anyone on staff tonight know, so that's myself or Will or Roberto, and we'll get you to the first floor restroom if you need access to it. And with that, it is my great pleasure now to introduce Wo Chan. Togetherness, which we have a little QR code for pre-order tonight, and if you haven't already pre-ordered it, I really assure you that you must. It's astonishing, as I will now go on to say at length. But togetherness, Wo Chan reminds us, can be brutal. And yet, they write, we need it. There's no justification. Reading it, I think, this is a book about love, among other things. I think of how one song tells us that love will keep us together, while another promises love will tear us apart. In Wo's writing, love, of course, does both. from the root of our unjustified and unjustifiable need for it. I say this is a book about love in part because it is a portrait of woe, a portrait of their family restaurant, their labors and searchings, their suffering and grace. In a poem called I Think About My Mother and Just Begin to Cry, Will writes, "Mine is the life of vacation, she peeps through the keyhole," unquote. Love may be, among other things, a matter of looking as directly as possible. In this book's unflinching gaze, Woe offers us descriptions of structural violence, migration, ecological mourning via funny, angry pastorals, sex dreams, food, the trance induced by the show Chopped, the magical force our siblings exert over us, all the wet data of living. And while, or perhaps because this is a book about love, it is also about violence. Will writes, "I believe that art and violence are the only things that can truly change another person. It unnerves me that most people cannot, will not appreciate either," unquote. These lines haunt me. What relationship can we outline between art and violence? Are they oppositional? Are they sisters? What are the consequences of failing to appreciate the only forces of true change? What false fantasies does this failure enable of control, of stability, of power? Woe writes, "Why must I explain the thoughts I've had on the things I never got to decide? They happened to me, happen all the time, and I changed. I learned I could keep changing. I must to keep myself," end quote. And more than once, Woe asks, what makes you possible? They offer many answers, and in another sense, none at all. And I find myself returning again and again to this, quote, "Gratitude is the central pillar of my life. That language could fall like nuts from a tree branch leads me to feel the ground in disbelief," end quote. Entering this life already in debt, let that debt not be a condition of burden, but of love, of togetherness, being what it is, permanent but not static, itself and difficult and true. Quote, "The earth is cold, water is itself, as am I do love us," end quote. Please join me now in welcoming Woe Chan to the podium.
Thank you, Laura. That introduction was incredible. I'm really moved by it. I've never been introduced like that before. And I guess, yeah, it's a big moment. Hi, everybody. Thank you for coming. I'm going to give you all a clap. I have a runny nose. I'm not sick, though. I took a test today. I'm so excited to be reading from my book today. It's my first book, which is a big deal, and it's taken me a long time to put into the world. Right now, it's being printed somewhere overseas, so much like myself, it will be an immigrant in this country. But I'm really excited to share work in this legendary space. The first reading I went to here, I witnessed Dynasty Handbag puppeteering her boobs, and then shortly after, Banu Kapil swallowed like a whole white rose and cried into like a stranger's lap in the first row, and I was just like, this is legendary, and I'm really honored to be here. And also, I'm excited to hear your work, CA. CA Conrad is an idol and a pillar of our community. And every time you email me, I am thrilled to just see your name pop up. You write the best emails. So I'm excited to read and then to be able to sit down and hear your poems. This will be the first time I read from my poems in the order of the book. So it will feel different for me. And I think I'll just set a timer and try to keep to the rule of staying in this order. The book is not born yet. It will be born in September, but I took the time to painstakingly cut out stickers, which are actually like packing labels from Staples. They're free over there. I cut out like 30 of them, and if you peel from the lower left hand edge, there's like a little lip, and it makes it easy. So it'll be cute. It's of these characters. The art is by Aldrine Valdez, who is another great poet in our community and visual artist. Yeah. The book is about kind of three things. Growing up in my family's Chinese restaurant in Virginia, it's about watching Chopped, it's about doing drag, and it's about fighting deportation, which was a whole thing that my parents and I went through in the 2015, 2016. Performing Miss America at Bushwick 2018, then chilling. Breathe. Some reddish dolphins. These bare feet busted, tore through my capizios unmoisturized. They join your pilgrim black boot. Oh, my mammal. The wide weekend's long disclosure of drugs drawn, precious, depressed, high function, high anxious. 2018 gifts us fed dossiers on our stupendous thumbs down needs. You need therapy. I need money. We ditch our brains, unable to shred the fog of futures where civics, passion, paycheck, and pleasure meet. 2 hours ago, we ran late through slashing rain on Smith, tumbling you, your sister, family in the Uber XL backseat, helped me paste a glittering red America on my toilet paper sash. We made it. Early at Bushwig, barely attended, I exploded the bouquet, rolled nakedly on stage. I didn't expect to make $14 cash crumpled. I took mushrooms, time unclenched. I found you, sipping rosé back bar. I was so happy. Joy was flapping its wings in the dust bath. You said I didn't seem different, but by then I could no longer bear violence, however simulated. I wanted only to see soft things. Your empath friend, Our Lady of Paradise, gives guided meditations. Undoing some violence in synchrony, she sings under the megawatts of her holographic leotard, new songs about her gender dysphoria. My smile pancakes beyond the edges of my Cuisinart face. She's so great, I say, stretching like an accordion. But how useful are words now? By then, I had lost the white pearls glued on my décolleté. They dropped far like seeds from a seagull's asshole. Thinking about a feeling is like photocopying a feeling. That scanning light is safe. I brag, my brain is fearless, yet I wear my heart smeared across my face, waiting for the all-gender bathrooms with you. I just wanted to sit and melt like Kerrygold on your fur coat. You said it was real. I knew that. I felt it. Such as, my mother was a fever. My father was a restaurant. Every noon he fed his lungs to an entire city. Every night he held my belly searching for a suburb. I was the firefly that flared only once in my father's kingdom. I learned to speak English like a quick brick road. I split rocks in the back lot of my father's skull. I picked dandelions from the underarms of him, my father. I was the smell of ripe lemons in his ox-bone nation. I was never brave, but he let me eat butter, held me like an egg. I was pure yolk and ate everything with my monster eye. Did I mention my mother was the fever? That was my father, actually. Still my father, pressed against the door frame. My father was always the fever and always the restaurant. My father, whose splintered shoulders knew the words to one anthem only. It's so wild to be reading. Some of these poems are so old, and it's like exciting to see all the different versions of you kind of crunch into one spot, and then you just get this wider understanding or window to yourself. I don't know, books are wild technology, especially poetry books. I pissed on a red Christmas tree, dead the day after a country tried deporting my family. And me squat in the dunes, blessed the granular earth, and made the sound of crying, teemingly unfished in the broad Atlantic mouth. I have always loved the ocean. I love it for its size. It keeps itself hidden. From the interior of no imagining, where salt water is one long sentence saying your pain is a gimmick compared to how I've held a billion glass lives. I gave no consent to what would and wouldn't live. What makes you possible? In its premiere, you watch Chopped at Gold's Gym, bouncing on a treadmill toward a flat screen of competitors. You are the child of a restaurant, steeped in sodium and stir-fry. Something strange now, you burn calories on a conveyor belt powered by the other burning of prehistoric flora. At night, you slip into bed and wait to wake at the banging of your door by your brother's fist. For the next 12 hours, you stand next to your mother at the Fortune Gourmet. People eat rice, people sip cola, people drop broccoli on the carpet and flee. You were 16 then. You still had a healthy relationship with television. My mother's face eclipsed by a spray of fortune cookies. My mother's face eclipsed by the expiration of passports, and my mother's face in window fans. In front of my mother's face, a brown paper bag, my denim button-up, car door of the 97 Camry blown off my mother's face. Strangers' lipstick, sunglasses lost and found, my mother's face behind beach balls, behind popsicles. Every dollar bill obscures my mother's face. Clarion birdseed canopy, my mother's face a shadow recessed in shadow. The hot globe before, ringing my mother's face a television. The whole vault of it, stars, and still that shaft of water. My mother's face reflected in the well it thrashes under, wet, immutable lid. Your first apartment in New York, you tried to make rice in a saucepan, like the times you seen your father press his thick palm flat against the grain. The back of his hand submerged entirely in cooking water. That's how you know it's filled enough to cook. Half the pot burnt, you eat crunchy rice by the window. Battle-worn, watching Chopped, wondering where you fucked up. Did you expect some sort of divine right for rice, actual rice? And then also, did she not, holding you, press her palm into the milky basin and drain until water ran clear? I think about my mother and just begin to cry. Mine is the life of vacation, she peeps through the keyhole. My throat squints the greater part of a geranium, the other star anise. My mother's name is Autumn, succinctly I learned in Chinese, and I have been a liar. My life, sheer and entire, she furnished. I, fundamental loveliness, loathe that late blue waking. Unsurfaced, she bastes in cracked water, tall world, the shore sheens in comfort-making, where all is flower. Dawn's half-formed roots break heirloom, gorgeous is the heart. Where is my mother? Ripe in the hearth is her rent gut. Of sure I am not lovely, home-slung child birthed on used Cadillac earth. Too far flung to reconcile where I am dense and young as the millennia I camp. Rain unfastens the bedsheet zinnia. I can't guess the color of those darling curtains, the ones that memory make of her absence. Didn't realize there was so much mother stuff in here. Oh my God. Oh my God. I recently got approved to be a low-fee patient in a psychoanalysis program. So I pay like $4 a session to like work with an analyst in training. This is not related to the poetry at all. I'm just like bragging. But yeah, I'm excited because it's like, it's great. It's just like a writer's dream. You know, you get to just talk about your family and someone's listening and giving you like notes. My life with newly painted nails as well, thank you. Beyond recall, it most melt against me. I make stand like wall frame, high-postured tinker toy booger at the Port Authority on the blue seat. Living is such wet data, and most of me is breathing acrylic. So high consumption that animal is sick. My mother dances the domestician in soiled clothes. She hasn't been promoted in years. The boundaries are negotiable. One trick is to simply not wear your own blood down the apron's front. Where I'm from, I'll tell you, public art is gauche. They fell from hunger as the Republic raised its foundries. When I was like 1 month out from being deported, I got the privilege of going to my first art residency. So I went out into a barn with other artists to enjoy nature and to have space and time, but it was one of the most ludicrous kind of months of my life because I wasn't sure what any of it would do if in a month I was deported or had to had to live in another country. So I wanted to write, so I started writing towards nature, and I wasn't sure why. And I have some theories about it, but I'll just start reading it. This is a series of poems about at nature. At nature, I avoid you. With all my heart, I sit on toilets and travel on gravel exclusively. Migration is the most expensive cut of meat. It braids me to my birth. I was gived lungs, I was gived brunch, I was gived up to daylight and diagnosed. Mammaria absentia, a ho-hum souffle in the oven, I collapsed. A father scooped the soggy mess of me in his hands and declared, "What a modernist." Under the operating light, I was lifted, constructed. My teeth glittered in Cantonese. What do I make of my face, except that it is on me, and its physicality, though not me, is how I've been addressed my whole boring life. When I was 9, I watched Aladdin and thought, after money, I wish for whiteness. I didn't even have all my teeth or vocabulary, just 2 birchwood hands trying to catch the basketball my brother hurled at my face. When I was 19, my face erupted in nodular cysts, the bleeding Jupiter kind of sulfuric condensates and an alien registration. I had it all, a family, some secondhand sweatpants, a gender whose every sentence began, "When I was a boy, I looked like my mother. Now more like father, baba, dad, am a full yard of irony waiting for lightning to lick me back. Once I was on a gay date, just once, and a hunched-over woman slipped me a white note. I thought it said Jesus, but instead Mario Badescu, the skincare brand I would sell months later when I learned to smother the errata of hormonal bludgeonings to the surface. Other children saw dermatologists at the sight of a curly pube while my own mother, when I was a boy, waited until her gallbladder exploded to get her gallstones removed. I watched her dimpled ass blow in the wind of the hospital hallway as she learned to walk again, and I slept in her bed and fed her plain contraband congee. I am still talking about faces, the dented, fraxeled, mole-scarred, and trenched ones. I took a pill many times that induced apoptosis, cell death I could barely afford 4 months of, my lips peeling like World War II wallpaper. The sex I was not supposed to have did not happen anyways. As a nude myself, I am cratered irreversibly, so why must I explain the thoughts I've had on the things I never got to decide? They happened to me, happen all the time, and I changed. I learned I could keep changing. I must to keep myself. So there are some works in here that I will never read out loud, because they're kind of like, what are they? They're letters of character reference that I got from community members for a judge to read, but they break up. I don't know. It's an interesting little like verbal performance in itself, but I won't be reading those ever out loud, I don't think. At nature, you're gross. What's the after spray? Noted animal and charcoal. That belly up vole sheening dead in the road swells. What is nature? But fly house of butter and blow, one with decorated wings and the other iridescent skull. The sight of meat disgusts me. When I look in a mirror, I entered nature once, sheathed in borrowed afterbirth and a baseball cap, of which one I wore backwards. It was the birth, best dressed, and yet I was not stopped for a photo, nor lashed sideways with rainstorm, nor hail, nor offered one shit of a black bear laid underfoot. What is gravity? And are we entitled as floaters by that we sometimes are the smartest dumplings on the map and the dumbest lost in a field of thistle? Have you ever stuck your hand into a bag of turkey meat? Because the water here dries me, and from myself I have mined 4 days of smegma. At nature, how well do you know America? Have you met ever her, the androgynous here and now, as in time and space, face-shoving, rhythmless, interrupted hacks and wet chins? It was cosmic. On a field blasted with Wi-Fi, I chased monarchs through a field of violet time. Telling you this, my docu-self huffs a red Sharpie and carves on you an X. You are here. You are here too. Against awkward space and time, voyeur stunted and schlaffed out in crud. Your fingers swell like angel cake in my mouth. Moon River plays wistfully, distantly. Earlier, I said field of time with an H, as in human and hubris and humid, as in human hubris in the humid after rain heat dilates the mind. A door swelling shut into its jam like an ingrown toenail. It should hurt you. It should hurt you. Every 4th page here is like displaced 3 pages back because I didn't know how to print it correctly from the hotel printer. So I'm playing this like fun game of flip 1, reverse 2. But it's in order. Okay. In college, you tried to get an Adderall prescription because you couldn't focus on your term paper about one of the Rossettis. Which one? There was a questionnaire in front of you and nothing else on the broad white table. A nervous woman with shallow nail beds pushes the form towards you. Please check all of the behaviors and symptoms that you consider problematic. Distractibility check. Change in appetite check. Hyperactivity, lack of motivation, check. Impulsivity check. Boredom check. Anxiety, worry, check. Sadness check. Loneliness check. Problems at school check. Guilt and shame. Check, check. Please provide a list of your allergies. Cats? Scott Conant, restaurateur and master of Italian culinary arts, sits on the judges' panel and is amazed. Another contestant has made risotto in less than 20 minutes, and though he has abused the turkey and misplaced the horseradish, Scott Conant strokes his chin and pushes the contestant through to the next round. You ate risotto for the first time last Tuesday, an hors d'oeuvre of risotto balls at a literary gala as you overlooked the Hudson. Margaret Atwood was in the other room. You and Margaret Atwood, windowside, beaming at the same river through glassy eyes. Half the world in shards. It's breathless weather. This mush in your mouth. What did you expect? Rice? Actual rice? The month you continued to ponder suicide, you were 16 and had stopped making eye contact with your family. Your entire family living their lives around you like a river to a stone. You spent a lot of time staring at the ceiling of your mother's 97 Camry, going from home to school to restaurant to home. By April, everything started to slide in and out of metaphor. Your father shucking armfuls of garlic in gray plastic bins, the footfall of soldiers marching in paper gowns, 50 pounds of chicken breasts stacked in a crooked tower on cardboard, on ice. It's not dog meat, your brother says. And a cockroach falling on your face, like a cockroach falling. This has not stopped. This is so funny. Okay. Yesterday, you took a shit so big at the office that it refused to flush. It was a Monday. You remember your roommate once said that food is like paying rent to your body. How can you afford this? And for how long? When you yanked the lever to draw another surge of water, the turd stayed, dense, and stayed once, twice, 3, 4, 5 times, unimpressed by the rush of plumbing. The clear and swirling water around a single object. So terrified of your own feces, it's patriotic. You stare into the bowl with great reverential anxiety. It is like history, private, that only the parts of you unseen have memory of its creation. What in this world is so defiant, so honest and immune to eviction that it dares you to destroy it with your own bare hands? At nature, when you ripped, whose fingerprints did you find at the hypocenter, and whom did you imagine would survive? Survival, clouds shred, all shock and gauze, aren't we interested in it? The sightless, shiny beasts of children escape errant into the dreamscape of Arizona darkness, that tall proscenium threatening to crumble with the sky's wet arm of milk. Your own paper-thin collar, kindergarten and pregnant belly load to an alien fire, those still built on earth. And how and why, for annihilation, there are not synonyms, no sound in a language sought can reflect reality, nests of napalm, giant stars puddle on the ground. I wish I could wake up and make a sincere apology. I woke dreaming instead of a past lover rimming my asshole, his persona shifting into my brother's face. I moaned, sunbeams blasted through thin curtains. I felt the fabric of my boxers shift against my anus. I felt regret to wake, then joy to memory, then annoyance, shame at an old feeling clean in the mirror of seawater, the face that is yours, wrinkling and transparent. Observe the beauty of an emotion. Observe the beauty of an emotion changing. You seem to believe you must avoid discomfort in your life to actually live. My therapist said that. Then he told me he had to stop taking my insurance. At the rate of $250 a session, I could continue into his newly private practice. Was this an exercise in disappointment? I didn't feel a hint of sadness. Bored, and then resigned. I felt poor at the trial-sized humanity of other people and myself, a smallness that moves the rainbowed mildew of my bathtub to weep and grow lush. The cat, half in light and lounging in the window of the real estate office, he stares at the big people living, stacked domino in the blueprint of some Montague Street. This ordering is wild. Okay, hold on. Reading the Yelp reviews of your family's restaurant, a mistake. Lacking any lasting impression. The food is good, but the service is awful. Waitstaff is surly and inattentive. 23 reviews. Your mother's English taped up with smiles, your father's eyes peeking out from the kitchen, and your brother, who remains an asshole in every description. Lauren M. details in a 1-star review an argument over a delivery that he brought to her house. It is so authentic, it's painful to read. Your brother becomes angry and slams a full box of food onto her driveway. In February, the steam rises from the wet noodles on the asphalt, rising with his heavy breathing. Your brother is 32 and has spent exactly half his life delivering food. Your mother has shingles and no doctor. Your father, hypertension, no doctor. You have a college degree and will not go back there. Lauren M.'s profile has 0 friends and 1 review. At nature, you are loved. Ready for the fall of man, I waste my energy. Dreams that ecological giving way to the wetter world. Person is awake. Make a fist. It's time to feel real. Time to inculcate a sawtoothed politic. Orchids, recently imported, learn to live neighborly by that bread muncher staunch at the window frame. Learn to live a restructured, buttery life. Sunward, with the petals of a human tongue, and the mouth of each stranger could hurt you by its incredulous warmth. Why don't they feel ever the right to be here? Never feel celebratory, not once up for the reenactment, not the same luridity. Sometimes my body feels like outdoor furniture someone loosens all the screws to secretly overnight. I will win no awards for work meant to exclude you. The experiment is to set a-shaken the mind's dry iris. Believe you have more to believe in and less of which you are certain. The sky is blue or azurite, could crack and drag cruelty across the domestic skin. I would craft the replica glass eyeball of each ex-president to fill your bathtub blue. Good mother, this is how you know. She informs you that you have a learning disorder after she rejects your bid at an Adderall prescription. Also, it seems you've been bordering on depression for a while now. She looks so serious. How long have you been like this? You reject your first therapist when you meet her, an Asian woman who unsettles you by her likeness in academic English. As you backpedal from her office, you feel yourself standing on ice so crystal thin it is like touching the wet of an eyeball, and beyond it yourself, alive and clawing into contact. You tell all this to the next white woman sitting across from you in a fold-up chair. Your mother's immigration, your brother's explosive and wasted life, your father's reserved devotion to the dream of you, and your obsession for ball sack and cock. She touches her wrist. It seems you have a lot of problems adjusting her wristwatch. I'll see you next Monday. her thumb on the glass face. All your potatoes on the ground. You were not meant for this. The camera zooms in on your front teeth tearing open a parcel of dried shrimp. Pink grains, packed with 2,000 eyes, punctuate the space between your hands, like a boat, filthy, nostalgic. Arousal assails in a blast of seaside umami. You stare at Ted Allen's mouth for so long it begins to move. Tell me, chef, who you're competing for today. Your fingers grip around the handle of your cleaver, a deep breath. I'm competing today to honor my mother, who showed me what sacrifice and love could look like through her unforgettable cooking and life. At the word life, you tilt your head up on cue and rock your blade slowly into the heft of a red onion. Then you remember your mother is still alive. A tear slides down your face. At nature, who's willing to forget? Pity? Disintegrate down to the needle, to the needle point, red as a kidney bean. I was once a fetus. Don't I deserve some innocence? I feel the beating of my UNICEF heart. It has grown deep. I swear, surefire nature implanted within. Nature is everything, everything, except the artist, which I have decided is me. All night, I've been touching myself. Don't try to catch up. The sun is a circle in the sky, and I'm undefeated. A calendar? That's one box following another. Truthfully, I don't think I have the capacity to love right now, yet call me back. I do want to see you, topless as myself, when in spring I deny thy daddy and still so American. O'er the ramparts I am lightning, swirling with tits the size of late-blooming birds' nests. I hate that word. Yet I kiss the rod so I would not strike the barn, which means the animals, the upright ox, femme sheep, the coupled rabbits, are safe. Your Lord, who is Lord, and his manifold beasts suckled and slept under the eternal twitching stars of suburbia. How I want so badly to be with you, and not sincerely myself. P.S. If silence is golden and silence is violence, then violence is golden, no? You must respond. I've pondered this, ass up in the bath, thinking, were you not the only source of information I had, I would not talk to you. I believe that art and violence are the only things that can truly change another person. It unnerves me that most people cannot, will not appreciate either. I think I'm gonna have to stop there. Thank you so much. I'm excited to
Please grab a sticker. Thanks so much for that, Will. That was really generous and close, and I look so much forward to your book being born. Hi, everyone. My name's Will. I'm the Copywriting and Design Associate here at the project, and it's a distinct honor to introduce CA tonight. Amanda Paradise, Resurrect Extinct Vibration, is a collection that seems to me to not have been written exactly, but perhaps instead guided or called, surfaced or emerged. A demonstration of the resolute magic and power of CA Conrad's gift for careful attention, Amanda Paradise centers CA's queer ability to multidimensionally, parasympathetically listen, insists that listening is an act of attention and sharing. And these poems are a reminder, too, of the psychic and material symbiosis of poetics. Amanda Paradise argues that, yes, as people, we have a responsibility to guide poems into being, but that poems guide us into being, too. We are responsible for making and must remain open to being made. And by poetics, I think CA also means earth, that we create and are created by earth, that we have a responsibility to the world that nourishes us, that holds us as it orbits sun through pitch of space. And throughout the text of Amanda Paradise, they remind us that we've stripped earth of earth's symbiosis, our empire has gotten in the way. Through their embodied poetics, CA shows us that empire is responsible for collective death, that we can no longer be complicit, that death is a part of life, but murder needn't be, and that under empire we are witnessing the murder of earth. Amanda Paradise positions queerness as perpendicular to the anti-creative inertia of empire, as a halt in the machine, posits it as perhaps not the way out, but a way to the way out, a possibilizer. Because queerness begets difference, begets abundance. Empire fails in face of possibility and works to disable it, to endanger it. Queer community, both living as well as the spirits of loved ones taken from us, endangered and disappeared because of their difference, animate the text and offer a Janus of mourning and celebration in the face of congregate death. Amanda, from the Latin for beloved, encourages me to read the title as Beloved Paradise, invites me to consider paradise as a possibility for life on earth. Because life is queer, because empire cannot support life, and therefore empire must break. Because life, I mean queerness, isn't going anywhere, not even after death. Because queerness offers paradise even in the face of empire. We're here on earth to celebrate earth. I don't fear death because we're living it. I'm in love with life because we're living it too. CA Conrad has been working with the ancient technologies of poetry and ritual since 1975. They are the author of Amanda Paradise. Other titles include While Standing in Line for Death and Eco-Deviance. The Book of Frank is now available in 9 different languages. They received a Creative Capital Grant, a Pew Fellowship, a Lambda Literary Award, and a Believer Magazine Book Award. They teach at Columbia University in New York City and Sandberg Art Institute in Amsterdam, and it's such a joy to welcome CA Conrad to the Poetry Project.
Thank you for that introduction. That was wonderful. Whoa, that was an amazing reading. It's just going to take a second to... Okay. Cancel. Oh, it's up. Okay. Thank you. Do you mind lowering the lights a little bit? I just had a COVID test before this started. I'm happy to say that everything's fine. So Amanda Paradise is a book that I wrote that I'm very excited about. I'm very grateful to my publisher, Wave Books. They take such good care of my work. And the photo of me is by Augusto Cascales, who just turned my play, The Obituary Show, into a film, which was very exciting. And I want to thank Creative Capital. Some of them were here today because this book wouldn't be finished without them. I went to all 50 states to write this book. I was thinking about the fact that now that I'm in my late 50s, according to the World Wildlife Association, we've lost 70% of all the wild creatures on the planet, which is just, I don't even know how to take that in at all. And what I decided to do was to think about this idea of ecopoetics in a way about, thinking about it in terms of vibrational absence, that when a species leaves, they take all of their sounds with them. Their heartbeat, their wing flutters, everything. So wherever I was at in the United States, I was flooding my body with these field recordings that are all available online. And this is the blanket that the Pew Fellowship made for me. It has a quote from a manifesto that I wrote. And I didn't take it to Hawaii or Alaska because it was too heavy. But I wanted to, if that counts. But I want to talk a little bit about the rituals as I go on reading, but I want to start by reading one of the poems. For the pharaoh splendor that remains for Kazamali, sometimes I strain to hear one natural sound. When gender blurs in a poem, my world sets a tooth in the gear. If God is in me, when will I ask for my needs to be met? Every God is qualified. It is not such a secret. When I was afraid of the road, I learned to drive. Map says name of your city and ocean, line drawn to it, towing behind the big party. History of life on earth might be interesting to a visitor one day. Chewing parsley and cilantro together is for me where forest meets meadow. In a future life, would we like to fall in love with the world as it is, with no recollection of the beauty we destroy today? Memories of why I stopped being a man, for Jason Dodge. It's normal if your cock gets hard while you are shooting, my uncle told me on my first deer hunt. Pythagoras knew the music of Jupiter and Mercury long before NASA. But to begin again, no hero itching at the door. That never-ending search for weakness in neighbors, siblings, coworkers, rival football teams. After seeing the open body of muscle and blood, we had horrible ideas about what to do with our lives. Imagine how they gathered around the first cannon ever fired, sweaty, excited, rock hard. Before he died, Kalishnikov confessed to suffering unbearable nightmares. Surrender your nouns to my verbs, he said, he said, he said, he said. In a game of Russian roulette, I want a pair of glasses that can see the wind. I walk around town each night, watching the slightest breeze approach dry leaves like a premonition. After a million years of dreaming, the solution is still the same. Hold me to your bruised song until it warms me right. I wanted to say that I was very excited last year when Angela Conant, who's a curator here in New York City at the Elizabeth Foundation for Art, contacted me to be part of the show about toxic masculinity called Boy Box. And I said, great, what would you like me to do? And they said, the thing that you always have to do, which is to read at the opening. And I said, I don't do that. And she's like, well, why? And I said, because that's what poets have been asked to do for centuries, and we're not indentured servants to the art world. And, well, what do you want? I said, I want to be in the show. Well, what does that mean? I said, I want a poem on the wall. And then she had this brilliant idea the next day. I just loved her idea to publish this poem on 6 feet of chiffon. And, you know, there's not a single piece of male clothing I can think of made on chiffon. And it was hanging in the middle of the gallery, just shimmering. I thought that was really, I just loved it. It made me so happy. And then this show it's in Santander, Spain now. Fluent Gallery, everybody there, I just love them so much. And same thing, you know, they were like, well, what do you want to do? We want to have the show. And I said, no, it's not about me. I just want the poems. All my poems stand at the bottom of the page, like people. So the top of the poem is always a different part of the page, but they always stand on the bottom of the page like creatures. So that's what they are. You walk around these creatures. It makes me very happy. And let me just bring this up. This is very exciting. This just came out before I came over here. Art Forum just did this great review of the show. I mean, a poet getting a review in Art Forum is weird. But it was very exciting. It was a lovely review. But I just loved being over there with these poems, and they were translated into Spanish, and then there was recordings of them written in Spanish, and then I read the English. And I'm very excited to be working this week with friends of Fluent from Santander who are here, Elise and Pedro, who did a beautiful translation of the Book of Frank last year into Portuguese. And Pedro, I hope you don't mind me saying this, was just representing this country of Portugal at the Venice Biennale. So I'm very happy to be here with them this week. I'm going to read this poem. See this poem? Can you see the cursor behind me? That's the poem I'm going to read. Do y'all know what camisado means? It's a military term that means killing your enemies in their sleep. And I wrote this when Donald Trump was first elected. Camisado. After breaking in, the wolf calmed the hens so he could take his time with them. Twist them open until the right amount of memory fits into the song. Another high price for belonging. Poetry is the opposite of escape, but makes this world endurable. How the smallest puddle reflects the entire sky. I return to every dream our minds talked us out of, trusting our math of the star. Your hand around my shoulder, poet, astronaut, you know I love you. I have no sense of failure when I'm with you. Everything matters because everything hurts someone somewhere as it is mattering. We became all we carried into the mast. Migratory patterns given to the love again. A way to end the secrecy of suffering. Cut a door in the wolf so we can retrieve our dead for a world that matters. So this is so there were 9 ingredients to this ritual, and this is one of them. I dedicate this particular part of the ritual to this beautiful trans woman who I knew when I was a teenager in Philadelphia. All my friends and I were just freaked out by being surrounded with all this dying. The AIDS epidemic was in full bloom when I was a kid, and Peppy, she was maybe 20, it was hard, I think she was lying about her age, maybe 25 years older than us, and just a real rock of joy, and just helped us get through things often. And Peppy, her parents were Native American and taught her how to work with crystals. And we would have these very weird, she thought it was like a protege or something, and taught me how to work with crystals first, but I didn't know anything about crystals from where I came from, and gave me a piece of amethyst and taught me this thing that crystals inhale for 50 years and exhale. I don't know. I like it. I don't know. But what I did was I took these copper water bottles and I filled them with equal amounts of amethyst, carnelian, and rose quartz, and then water, and then buried them in Minneapolis, Memphis, and Cheyenne. Cheyenne is where Peppy had a sister who she hoped to visit before she died, and she didn't. She died of AIDS a few years before all that was able to happen. But what I would do is the 4th bottle is in Omaha, Nebraska, and it took months to set this up. And I've been living on the road for almost a decade now, and just driving around like a vagabond and getting into trouble. But I would go to Omaha And I would sit on top of that bottle, and with a little wonky compass, I would align myself first with Minneapolis, which is a very American word. It takes the Lakota word for water, Minne, and infuses it with the Greek word for city, so it's Water City, Minneapolis. And I didn't want to choose St. Paul, which is on the other side, because he's like like a villain to queers, basically. So fuck St. Paul. But Minneapolis, and but I would align myself with Minneapolis and then eat a little bit of dirt from the location, and then listen to an ambient recording. And then when I would tune in, I would start writing, and then go Deasil clockwise. And then Memphis, which is named after the much fabled ancient city of Memphis, Egypt, which sits right at the mouth of the Nile, and Memphis, Tennessee is right at this sort of jawbone of the Mississippi. And somebody built this massive, like 20-story glass pyramid on the shore of Memphis. I don't know. I don't know what that was about. But, and then Cheyenne. I would just go clockwise all the way around, do it twice, and 3 times, actually. The third time is where most of the notes came for the poem. Okay. And then after that was finished, when the book was finished being written, I unearthed all these bottles of crystals, and I dumped them on Pepe's old doorstep, and within 24, in Philadelphia, and within 24 hours they were gone, which was lovely. Impaled by sharp points of wonderment. He insisted I should know names of extinct species, as though taxonomy ever meant preservation. Telling someone who they are instead of asking is where extinction gets its start. Another window into the carefully ornamented shadow. You call tails while the double-headed coin flies through the air. You say the new prison means good-paying jobs for generations. This is where I expect my vomit to land. You start using your therapist as a weapon against your friends. You pay to be told new furniture cannot combat the death of your bedroom. I imagine prison guards not yet born having lunch inside their parents. Study design of the owl's feathers to study arms race of the night. There's a lot of wolves in my poems. There's another one. Diving into the premonition. Parents who brought children to witch burnings remind me of parents where I grew up. Motion of an apple in sunshine. Imagine you have control of the orchard, but imagination is all you control. Wolves give birth in late April, an entire species of tauruses. Pups quiver in the green, tendering the open gesture. My body pulled off the road, my spirit takes me on the American highways in my sleep. Push and push it into digital mycelium of the internet. These cells can never end. The last of the hand-me-downs. I slept in his shirt for a year after he died. Now, I would rather wrap myself in leaves. This is a photograph of a dear friend of mine named Marie Fontini, who died almost a year ago. We were the same age when we were teenagers in our early. She was this amazing dyke, this the kind of dyke you really want on your side all the time, you know. And we lost more than half of everybody we knew to AIDS. And the thing that doesn't get talked about at all, I guess because so few of us are still here from that time period, is the amount of work. I mean, like every morning I would ride my bicycle over to Marie's, and then we would start calling friends to see if they needed groceries, go to the doctors, get prescriptions. Everybody's so sick they couldn't do these things. And the reason there was so much work, this is something else that never gets talked about, but I'm here to do it, is that 95% of every heterosexual we knew abandoned us completely. And I'm not kidding. I mean, it was devastating. And over the years when I would run into these old quote-unquote friends on the street, and they'd be like, oh, you're still alive. You know, just sort of like, oh, hi. Just like, I'd be like, how dare you meet me with cheer? Where were you? You didn't come to any funerals. Fuck you saying hello to me. Like, I guess that's just like, well, I got over my anger, and then I see that, I'm like, no, I didn't. I don't think I did. I mean, I'm still Generation X about it, you know. I want to dedicate this next poem to Marie and all of our friends who didn't make it. It's called Glitter in My Wounds. First, and most important, dream our missing friends forward. Burn their reflections into empty chairs. We are less bound by time than the clockmaker fears. This morning, all I want is to follow where the stone angels point. Birdsong lashing me to tears. Heterosexuals need to see our suffering, the violent deaths of our friends and lovers. To know glitter on a queer is not to dazzle, but to unsettle the foundation of this murderous culture. Defiant weed smashing up through cement. You think Oscar Wilde was funny? Well, darling, I think he was busy, distracting straight people so they would not kill him. If you knew how many times I have been told, you're not like my gay best friend who tells me jokes and makes me laugh. No, I sure as fuck am not. I have no room in my life to audition for your pansy mascot. You people can't kill me and think you can kill me again? I met a tree in Amsterdam and stood barefoot beside it for 20 minutes, then left completely restored. Yet another poem not written by a poet. Sometimes we need one muscle to relax so the others follow. My friend Mandy calls after a long shift at the strip club to say, while standing in line for death, I am fanning my hot pussy with your new book. Will you sign it next week, my fearless faggot sister? So, the reason these pictures are here. The top picture is a hypogeum, and this one's from ancient Crete. And what I love about the hypogeum, well, there were many reasons for they were burial chambers, but also pregnant women would go down into these chambers and invite their ancestors to inhabit the bodies of their unborn babies. And I was thinking about hypogeum during the COVID crisis because half of this book was written in lockdown. It's a very long poem at the end called 72 Corona Transmutations. And I thought, well, you know, there is no place that all of my friends who died in New York and Philly and Boston, et cetera, Baltimore, we all went to, but I know for a fact that every single one of these friends loved and saw The Wizard of Oz. So I used The Wizard of Oz as a location device. And what I did was, for this part of the ritual, you know this, have you seen the film? So this scene is where the so-called Wicked, she's not that bad, Wicked Witch, like, Dorothy killed her sister, everybody forgets that point, you know. She murdered her sister at the beginning of the movie. So, looking all gentle there. But this is the scene where the Wicked Witch puts her into this shamanistic heroin-induced, you know, sleep in the poppy fields. And it's the pivotal part of this whole film, because this is the point where when Dorothy wakes up, the path out of suffering is clear immediately. You know, everything gets clear. So what I did was I would freeze the frame at this point, and then get far away with my binoculars and study Dorothy, and then start conjuring the names of the dead. And that night I had this amazing, so the thing is, these rituals took months to do, but this one I did this one in one day, this particular ritual ingredient. I had the most amazing dream that there was a church, I was walking by and all this music is coming out, and I go into the church and it's everybody that I was talking to the night before, and they were happy to see me and I was happy to see them. I'm going to make this a little bigger now. So I'm going to read some of these pieces from the Corona Transmutations. For years after friends died of AIDS, they still danced with me in my dreams. Did survivors of the bubonic plague dance with their dead? Who will dance with whom in a year? Let's keep safe dance together in person. Don't worry, I'm not reading all 70, just a handful of them. My grandmother Pearl said, "Throw your wallet away the moment you lose your job." There were many excuses for losing jobs where I grew up. She was the only person in my family in the 1980s who asked about my dying lovers and friends. She said to me after a week with 3 funerals, "There is a beginning to this pain. Now you know the middle, but the end too must show itself. When you survive this, love will destroy all doubt." M drew his face the day he was diagnosed HIV positive and kept drawing as his face changed. They were sublime, like Munch's self-portrait with Spanish flu. He called on his deathbed at his parents' home to say his father was in the backyard burning the stack of drawings. I wanted to make him stop. "Please don't," he said. "It's his last chance to deny me. How can I deny him that?" People were so fucked up back then. Not that they're not now. We had much to leave behind in order to follow the river to the sea. My grandfather said, "Always remember, you come from people who wash after work." Migration can change a family. Some die before the end, others born along the way. I know my poems by their shapes and have felt their edges in my dreams, the side of a poem rubbed against my cheek like a bone comb or a lover's toe. I find some in the moth's flight. There is a little in the moon, more than a little in my man. A flower recently gave me enough room to accommodate my old friend's chaos and death. 18-day conversation through a magnifying glass, a tulip to challenge any artist, an edifying, short-lived fellowship, symmetry, harmony, rethink, recode, engine flow. Whenever a path has gone to seed, voices around me have more song. Stitches of nutrients hold us together. Bring us to life with a tolling bell, a solid infringement pressed into the cold vanished calm. In the fur of this sentence, my animal psalm for you. So Amanda Paradise led me to the new ritual that I've been working on. Well, I've spent most of lockdown in Seattle, Washington, and the crows run that city. They absolutely run it. They're amazing. They don't care what any human being thinks. They attack people frequently who deserve it. Like there was this neighbor who was poking the crows because the crows are talking in the morning. You know, they're having a conversation. He's like, and they would dive bomb him when he go to his car. They don't care. They don't care. But if you feed them, like I was doing, a little hummus container on the ledge. That's Elliot Bay behind the crow, and this particular crow started bringing me gifts. This crow allowed me to pet their beak eventually, and these are some of the gifts that the crow gave me. And just amazing to be given this bartering system, like tap, tap, tap on the glass, and then like pick it up and shake it, and tap, tap, tap. It's just lovely. It's my favorite relationship in Seattle. Part of this ritual also involves a lot of dealing with sunlight because I wasn't used to this, you know, it's the world's only non-tropical rainforest, and it rains every day. and it's no joke. And so I would watch the sunrise, and then I would watch the sunrise on a public webcam somewhere else on the planet each day. And I'm still doing this ritual. I'm putting all these together. Istanbul, this is the Tokyo rail yards. This is an amazing webcam that's got a great microphone. You can hear the people talking on the sidewalk down there. It's kind of wonderful. Webcams in Africa, India, Australia, everywhere. I watched the sunrise. Let me read. Okay, I'm going to have to hold this up to be able to see it. Now, let's see. So I'm starting to arrange the poems as though they're creatures gathering. Our little places within are not dungeons, remember, remember. Astronomers point satellites into space. The military points them down at us. The inverse relationship between love we offer and what we give. This on and off button is another opportunity to believe there are only two choices. This too must end. Part of this forest tastes like the man I love, with an actual number of nails holding the bedroom together. Other days, when we died where we fell, we became the forest. My car never intended to be a meat grinder, another face going under the waves. We felt awful after hitting the deer. We made love and slept with one of his antlers between us. Don't worry. Darkness always accuses us of falling on purpose. You know how to bulldoze me back up these hills. What does darkness know of light filling your navel in the middle of the afternoon? We have not lost our place in line, shaking off the cold. Let's get this garden planted. Give our fruit away to one another. After lockdown, being a Capricorn, I'm fine being alone, a Capricorn, we don't care. And I wanted to be alone longer, so I went down to Joshua Tree at this residency I was really excited to get into. And I said, well, I want to feed the animals. And they were like, great. And they just provided, I was feeding coyotes, and they would come. And when they would come around, I would hear the coyotes, and I would rub the back of my ears for the coyotes, for the quail. Like each animal had a different part of my body that I would go to before writing. This is the roadrunner. The greater roadrunner in the Mojave Desert is probably the most aggressive creature there. You would think it's the coyotes. It's not. These, and there's what they look like when they're flying. Aren't they amazing? But this bird is so huge. It's so long. And it would murder my chipmunks I was feeding. It was so sad. And I don't know. I rescued one of them, and the roadrunner came flying at me and slamming its beak on the sliding glass door to get me. This is the creature I was most excited to study with down there by writing my poems. It's the kangaroo rat. They only live in the Mojave Desert. They have evolved these powerful hindquarters to leap out of the jaws of rattlesnakes. And they have these long tails that they can shift while they're in flight to land wherever they want. They can change the direction where they land. They've got these little T-Rex arms where they eat their seeds, and they're very sweet. I just love the kangaroo rat. I'm going to finish by reading these three. These are three new pieces. They're for Eileen Miles. I was invited to write about Eileen Miles for this UK journal coming out soon, and I just don't like writing about people. I think prose is vulgar to me. I just don't like it. So I said, hey, what if I write some poems for Eileen? And they're like, well, okay. And I did. Eileen Miles was so important to me. When I was a teenager, I came here looking for them, and I was a wreck. The night before, I had a friend who almost died of AIDS and was it was just choked up. And Eileen was like, what's the matter with you? I was sort of annoyed because I was such a freak. And when I explained that, Eileen just gave me a hug and was just this great present. I mean, there were several times I was almost homeless where Eileen would get these emergency poetry grants so I wouldn't have to live on the streets. Love Eileen. Love them. Okay, I'm going to finish with these three, and thank you. Not nostalgic for 80s music, I'm reminded of helping friends overcome limits of hospital walls. Each new diagnosis loosened a mortar between us. dance to George Michael's Faith with absolute determination. Just hearing it exhausts me. I continue to live to make Jesus regret dying for my sins. Thumbing through calendars of the future till touching a year out of reach. Me a ghost, you a ghost, another poem dedicated to the great vanishing trick. We build muscles, organs, bones at separate tables of our favorite restaurant, chewing to motion kept to the tides. Without love, nothing would burden us to our knees. You are not a thing I forget is in my mouth, I promise my man. Put my tongue to his third eye, lick it open. Tremble with baby crow lifted back into the nest. New miracle interrupts the old one long enough. We reach in, grab what's needed. Dear Eileen, after a week of radical honesty, he asked me to lie. I shook my head no. I'm always partly cloudy. He's had plenty of warning. Thank you so much.
Oh my God, CA, thank you so much. I'm elated. Those new poems are astonishing. Amanda Paradise is I hope you all have it by now. If not, we have copies over there. Please get it. Clearly you need it. Thank you so much. Whoa, that was just absolutely breathtaking. Everyone pre-order the book. It's fabulous. Thank you all so much for being here. What an incredible night. We did want to invite you back. We have many really exciting events coming up over the next few weeks, but two I wanted to mention. Next Wednesday, Hannah Emerson, Farnoosh Fati, and Tyler Ray will be performing. We are truly honored. It's to celebrate Hannah's new book, which is just a breathtaking work. And then we also have Sherry Moraga coming to give a lecture the following week, which is just she's never been here before. It's unreal. We're so honored to welcome her, and I hope to see you at that. Thank you so much for being here. Do you have any other updates and reminders? I'm sorry, I said everything. I got too excited. But thank you all so much. I hope you have a beautiful rest of the night and to see you again very soon. Thank you. Good night.